Welcome to Indo-Pacific Affairs, a podcast devoted to tackling the wicked problems facing policymakers, academicians, military leaders, and others in the Indo-Pacific region. A product of the Air University's Journal of Indo-Pacific Affairs, the podcast features interviews with the top names in academia, government, and think tanks from around the region.
Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed or implied in this podcast are those of the participants and should not be construed as carrying the official sanction of the Department of Defense, Department of the Air Force, Air Education and Training Command, Air University, or other agencies or departments of the U.S. government or their international equivalents.
Welcome to the Journal of Indo-Pacific Affairs podcast. I'm Captain Shaquille James, and I'm here with my co-host, Lieutenant Colonel Z. Miller. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing Hyun-seung Lee, a defector from North Korea. Hyun-seung Lee was born in Pyongyang, North Korea. After completing his military service in 2005 with the rank of sergeant, he was granted membership in the Korean Workers' Party. He then went on to attend Kim Il-sung University in Pyongyang before graduating from the Dongbei University of Finance and Economics located in Dalian, China. While in China, he engaged in trade and economic relations between China and North Korea through his managerial role in the North Korean business entity operating in China. Despite his family's prestigious background, Kim Jong-un's brutal purges forced him and his family to defect in late 2014. He now resides in the United States, where he's engaged with several Washington, D.C. think tanks and NGOs, serving as a consultant. He also happens to be a friend of mine. Hyung-nim, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right, we'll start off with the elite class in North Korea. Can you talk about the elite class in North Korea and the role that they play in North Korean society?
When it comes to elite class in North Korea, I think there are many ways we can describe the groups of elites. For example, there is a business group to support regime, and then authority group actually runs the country. For example, the core members of Workers' Party. And we have military group and then law enforcement group. And we can call like elite student group as a elite class. The different groups have different roles to play in the society, but I think the group's overall role is, maintaining and monitor and run the country. So, the business groups provide resources, financial resources to the society, and then the authoritarian group, like, for example, organization and guidance department is the core department actually monitor and then plan for, North Korean society. That's the main group to do everything actually. It's like main power is of HR main power. And military groups, obviously, their main, task is to protect the Kim family, not the country. I mean, the secondary is the country protection. And then, the law enforcement group monitor people so that, any other ideology or like prevent the cultural invasion from South Korea and United States. And the elite student group is also the future of North Korea. So those elite students become the core members of the society. So basically, all these groups run the country, and the country's main goal is not provide a quality life to people. They want to control the people so that they keep maintaining their authority and the power forever.
Can you talk about your life as a North Korean elite and what sort of privileges you and other elites had?
In international community, I think there is some misconception about the elite class. So they believe that so many privileges the North Korean elites have. But for me, I think it's overestimated and overrated because it's very comparison, like, very poor people and then have some quality life people. So it's very obvious comparison contrast. So I think that's why the North Korean elites seems to have very privileged life. But there are some class people have privileges, like those families who fought against Japanese imperialism with Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea, and the people who fought against the United States during the Korean War. So they are classified as the core member of the North Korean society, and then they got some special privileges and benefits from the government. For example, they get, special rations and some benefits like a gift, and then, there's materials from the government. For example, in the past, before like Adios March, and then they got many quality like materials from the government, like a TV. They got the quality position, and then they get a more higher position than other people, and they have a unquestionable opportunity to enter the good schools, and they have the ability to reside in capitals, and they have privilege to go abroad with government's permission. So other than that, other privileges in North Korea, especially travel across the state, across the province without travel permission like that, and that's all resolved by authority or money. They just bought this privilege with money. So in the past, I would say there are some privileges and benefits, but nowadays money can resolve everything. So those privileges reduced significantly. So I don't think, more and more people get privilege or like benefit from the government. On the contrary, the people, like we are saying the elite class got the privilege or benefit from the government, but also they receive massive or extreme control and surveillance. And if that is the severe case, and they could be subject to execution and then sent to the political prison camp. But normal people, they don't usually put them in political prison camp. And like, I would say high risk, high return. And I think the misconception was spread out because of some North Korean escapees who describe overly the elite life. Like, some people said, oh, the elite, spend $1,000 or like even $10,000 a day, without hesitation. So when I listened that story, that guy is, totally lying about their life. So no one would spend that amount of money in one day, because they know if the government find out that they could be killed or like executed.
I see. And what do North Korean elites typically think about Kim Jong-un?
I would say before Kim Jong-un, there are many loyal people among elite group. So that's how Kim Jong-un's father can maintain his authority. But from Kim Jong-un, many elites have doubt on Kim Jong-un because, we all know Kim Jong-un has no any achievement, and Kim Jong-un, didn't attend the college and didn't attend the military service. So it doesn't make any sense for people to just listen to him and make him as the, leader of North Korea. So I would say nowadays more and more people have doubt on Kim Jong-un's, leadership and capability. So, propaganda is very well done by the North Korean Workers' Party. So still, general public believe Kim Jong-un's leadership, and even many people blame the cadres and officers of the wrong policies and failure of the government.
What can you tell us about the rule of Kim Jong-un? How is he different from his father and grandfather?
So every leaders in North Korea have a different style of governing. So, for example, Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea, he has so much confidence about his, ruling, because he's the guy who found the country, and he has, he fought against the Japanese imperialism, and he fought against UN and then US military during the Korean War. So he believed that he had a lot of achievement, and everybody in North Korea believed, so. So, we listened to Kim Il-sung, and then, we truly believe Kim Il-sung was the, only leader and God of North Korea. And so there was no need for him to make him as a God. So the one who actually made Kim Il-sung God is Kim Jong-il, the Kim Il-sung's son, Kim Jong-un's father, because he wants to maintain his authority. He wants to be next king of the society, but he understands that there are so many competition and there's so many, senior people actually have contributed a lot to the country. So, he wants to make very good excuse to become a leader of North Korea because he's a success of the God. So that's how he built the society. And so Kim Il-sung utilized so many, resources like, people and, knowledge and other resources from China and Russia. And he even utilized both countries, like, some using tactic, competing tactic with both countries. So, if Russia provides some, material, then, maybe having good relationship with Russia, and then, he sometimes go to China and then, ask some material. So, and, but the second Kim, the Kim Jong-il, the guy who's very mysterious guy, and he wants to remain as very secret life. So he doesn't want to open activity often because he wants to be mysterious. So the governing style is like call for 50 people, designate 50 people of the country, and let them run whole society. So he has a special party called Weekend Party. So the members of Weekend Party, they went to Kim Jong-il's village, special village, every week, and they have a party for 2 days during the weekend. And that party is actually called conference of running the country. So he gave direction to every member's, weekend party member. So that's how Kim Jong-un ran the country. But Kim Jong-un is very different. And then he needs achievement. And then he wants to show something to people so that people can recognize him as a leader. But so he leads everything. So like Kim Jong-il was, he was in the back and let people do, and then he was controlling everything. But Kim Jong-un is trying to do everything at front. So, if, he did a good job, and then he can get the, glory, message from the people. But if he failed, and then, people recognize, his failure. So he wants to show people something. But he all failed. Only achievement is missile development. That's why he continued, developing missile and nuclear weapons.
I want to transition and ask you about more of some contemporary topics. As we know, Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, had his rule blemished by the Arduous March, which was a severe famine in the 1990s, where hundreds of thousands of North Koreans died of starvation. In Kim Jong-un's reign right now, it seems to be impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you talk about the effect of COVID-19 on North Korea and the government's response to it and how it affects the ordinary people? Because my understanding is that North Korea says there's no COVID-19 cases in the country, and that is probably not true. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with you. There is court cases. There are some court cases, and North Korean government trying to cover that. And so at the beginning, I heard that North Korean government locked the people in, special play area, and then, just they don't cure them. They didn't cure them and, let them die, at the spot. And so because, North Korea lacks a lot of medicines and then medical equipments, and then there's no process to conduct the therapy and provide the resources for cure. So they just, lock down and then keep people from interacting. So, for North Korea, Kim Jong-un believed that's the best scenario for him to keep, his realm from the COVID-19. And recently, we got resources from people who has internal information, and it's very similar to March RDS March in 1990s. People are starving, and then some people in local place, they were already experienced similar cases in 1990s. So the only difference is, people have, immune kind of, experience. They already experienced that hardship, so they know how to survive. But still, there are some limitations because the border is locked and there are no more, material transaction between China and North Korea. So people have some money and trying to buy, and there is no material to buy. So only way they can survive is to save and not spend anything, until the border is open and, become normal society.
The next question I want to ask is regarding deals and negotiations with North Korea. Deals and negotiations with North Korea have a tendency to fall apart. Can you tell us how North Korea goes about carrying out negotiations? Is a real deal possible?
I think it's a really good question, and everybody wants to know about it, especially U.S. government officials and, international community. So I would say the main reason all the negotiation failing because Kim Jong-un's unwillingness to negotiate with the international community, because he doesn't want to denuclearize North Korea. He wants to keep nuclear weapons. He wants to keep authority for a long time. So he doesn't want to negotiate anything about nuclear weapons and human rights and his regime. So he keep mentioning, regime security, which means that he wants the international community and U.S. confirm he's running for the country for a long time. And then that's why he keep mentioning, joint military exercise is the hostile policy against North Korea, and mentioning human rights is, hostile policy against North Korea. So basically, he cannot negotiate with the United States because what we're asking is all these, things, denuclearize and improve human rights situation, and it's, directly conflict with Kim Jong-un's interest. So I want to say many people keep saying that, we should have negotiation through low level to the top. And during the Trump administration, they tried top to down, diplomacy, but all failed. So I would say nobody can actually make any real deal with North Korea unless Kim Jong-un announce his desire to denuclearize or, announce his retirement of the government.
Alrighty, we'll now transition to more current events. So, though largely overshadowed by the current conflict in Ukraine, North Korea has recently carried out several ballistic missile tests, including one that reportedly tested components of the new Hwasong-17 ICBM. How exactly should we interpret these actions, and why do you think North Korea is doing this now? They haven't tested ICBMs in a very long time.
I think there are 4 reasons North Korean government keep developing, missiles and nuclear weapons. First, missile development is the forever project for Kim Jong-un regime. and probably he will not stop developing, missile, system. If they achieve one thing and then he wants to try achieve another thing, like, maybe he can announce that he wants to compete with Elon Musk. So, shoot the rocket to the moon, or like, he wants to compete with the SpaceX. And the second reason is Kim Jong-un needs to show something to its people. As we all know, Kim Jong-un failed everything in North Korea, improvement of the people's life and economy and, farming and everything. But only achievement is missile development. So that's the only achievement for him, and he trying to keep showing people that he's doing something for the country. And the third reason is there's no reason for Kim Jong-un to stop missile and nuclear tests. Because, so-called South Korea's progressive government made a deal with North Korea that trying to keep peace between two Koreas, but Kim Jong-un believes that now the leftist government, leave the post, so there's no reason for him to keep the promise. So he just resumed his normal activity. And the fourth reason is he understands that there's no possible responsible option by the U.S. government if he conducts missile tests. So, in the past, we have sanction and, military pressure, which we called maximum pressure, but he built immune system, basically.
And I'm sure that this next question might also play a role, so we'll roll right into that one as well. These days, as I'm sure you're aware, at least as of last year or maybe the year before that, there was much concern about Kim Jong-un's health. It seems that his sister Kim Yo-jong is in a prime position to take his place should he become incapable of leading North Korea. What should we expect to happen if Kim Jong-un dies, and do you think there will be a smooth transition of power?
Of course, if Kim Jong-un faces a health issue and if there is something unexpected, Kim Jong-un's death, there will be power transition. And I agree that Kim Yo-jong plays a significant role in North Korea, but I would not consider Kim Yo-jong as the next successor of the country for two reasons. First reason is North Korea is very, man-centered country. So they don't even consider women as the leader of North Korea. And the second reason is Kim Yo-jong also doesn't have any achievement. And she didn't show any leadership capability. So I'm afraid that nobody, regard her as the next successor of the country. I would say Kim Jong-un's brother might be the possible one because he's not known to the country yet. And then he's a guy and he is a brother of Kim Jong-un. So, if something happened to Kim Jong-un, and then he might be the next successor of the country. Of course, if Kim Jong-un's son is, old enough, and then Kim Jong-un's son could be next successor.
Just a quick clarification for our listeners. When we say Kim Jong-un's brother, we are referring to Kim Jong-un's other brother, Kim Jong-chul, not Kim Jong-nam, who was assassinated in Malaysia several years ago. Kim Jong-chul is still alive and currently living in North Korea.
So I want to know, and we're all aware that China is North Korea's main ally. Do you have any insights to how China is supporting the Kim regime? Is North Korea really self-sufficient, or are they totally dependent on China's generosity?
In the past, we considered China as like a blood ally to North Korea. But China officially mentioned, they are not blood ally anymore. So they don't military exercise together, and then they don't keep military agreement. So it looks like, strong ally, but it's very superficial, and China doesn't want North Korea collapse. So they just, provide the very basic and minimum resources to North Korean regime to run. So, in the past, there are so many ways China supported North Korean regime with the officially providing oils and materials, but nowadays most of them are sanctioned by the international community. So there are some ways China is still helping North Korean regime. For example, they provide a stage for like North Korean IT workers to work in China. So as far as I know, there are several thousands of North Korean IT workers in China, but they haven't returned back to North Korea yet. And then their task or mission is, they have a dual mission. They work as an IT worker, working with some, program working, but on the other hand, they are also hackers. So when North Korean government give them assignment, they become as a hacker. So, they are doing both things. But Chinese government knows the work they are doing, but they don't expel them from China. And another resources the Chinese government provide is there are still, as far as I know, 50,000 North Korean workers in China as well. They're supposed to, go back to North Korea, but the Chinese government haven't sent them back yet. And this is another reason North Korean government blocked the border, so that the North Korean workers cannot, back to North Korea, so that they can keep making money for the regime in China. So their visas are expired, and the Chinese government is supposed to expel them to country, but they still let them work in China without, visas. So that's another way. And obviously, North Korea and China has a long border, so there are so many smuggling operations is happening. But the Chinese Border Patrol and the Chinese government, not stopping the smuggling operations. These are the ways the Chinese government support the North Korean government.
So a theme that you've mentioned throughout this podcast is that Kim Jong-un has no achievements to show for his rule at the moment. So what is his ultimate goal? Like, what does he wish to achieve for North Korea other than, having a strong missile force?
I think his ultimate goal is to keep his, kingdom forever. Make the Kim family kingdom. And then his long-term goal is to run the Korean Peninsula under his term. And his short-term goal is to make a favorable environment to unify Korea by his force. The reason I'm saying this because, North Korea is threatening by South Korea because the prosperous South Korea is real threat to North Korea. If North Korean people finds out the South Korean society and if they ask North Korean regime to make North Korea as the same society with freedom and prosperity, and then Kim Jong-un will face a strong resistance and then, threat by the people. So that's why he locked the country and blocked the information from the outside. So he keep people ignorant and uneducated. But we are sending more information and people keep access, for information. They are, now equipped with knowledge. So they are more and more educated. So that's one of the main threats to Kim Jong-un. So he wants to unify Korea, very soon. And he believes that that's the only way he can show his achievement to people and to keep the regime forever.
Alrighty, and this will be our last question. Especially during the Moon Jae-in years, there are a lot of questions about possible reunification with North Korea. Can you talk about what are the North Korean views on reunification with South Korea? And do you think it would ever be possible for Korea to be unified under the current political climate?
For North Korea, it's very clear. The unification should be done by North Korea's agenda and North Korean government's ruling, which means that Kim Jong-un should be the top leader of the Korean Peninsula. And I understand the South Korean government's effort to be a coexistence to Korea and then trying to keep the peace. But I would say the leftist government's effort is they are all failed because they didn't understand what they are trying to do and what they want to achieve in North Korea. So what I'm saying is they're trying to provide Kim Jong-un's authoritarian regime to let them run the country. But I think that's one of the failure they miscalculated, because the reunification cannot be happen with two systems. So if you want to be unified and you have one system, I don't see any cases that two different systems can be united as a one country. We all know Hong Kong and China, it looks like they are very compatible, but later we found out that one occupied another, and obviously the Hong Kong's freedom is in danger. And I don't want to see same scenario in South Korea too. So I think South Korean people should realize that the coexistence won't be possible, and cooperation with North Korea is impossible too, because we North Koreans all know that economic cooperation is not possible because we are not having market economy in North Korea. But South Korean, government and South Korean business entities keep trying to influence them. But North Korean government have all the measures to prevent those influences. So they don't think, unification as the possible scenario for right now. And North Korea's unification scenario is only when U.S. military is out of the country, and then they will think about unification by force or by threaten, something like that.
Hyun-seung, thank you so much for joining us. Your insight as someone very familiar with the North Korean regime is extremely valuable. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Indo-Pacific Affairs podcast. We hope you enjoyed the interview. You can engage with our interviewees, authors, and others via our Twitter feed at journal_Indo. You can also interact with us on the Journal of Indo-Pacific Affairs Facebook and LinkedIn sites.